Chapter 1. A Lament for This Life. How few can understand the hardships of this life. How much pain there is that wants to be said, but cannot be spoken. On the bustling streets, a desolate song rings out. A young man with rather handsome features sits in a secluded corner of the wall. He looks slightly weathered, his thin body making him look even more pitiful, and a neglected beard framing his jaw. In his hands, he strums a strange, unknown musical instrument, singing a song that people have never heard before, his voice thick with emotion. Next to him leans an equally emaciated girl with delicate, perfect features. Her dirty, oval face is full of yearning, her big eyes darting toward any sign of food. She bites her thin lip with snow-white teeth, enduring the hunger in silence. The girl sits quietly, looking left and right, hoping someone will come over and drop a few copper coins into their bowl. The young man continues his emotional song, as if singing about himself. Yet in this wine, there is only endless cold. When it hurts, I dare not let the tears flow. All my life I have been struggling nonstop, yet I never had a moment of freedom. On the main street, a middle-aged man hears the singing. He stops in his tracks and looks toward the source. His guards step forward and ask, "What is the matter, master?" The middle-aged man shakes his head, dismisses all the guards, and walks toward the young man. He stops right in front of him, but does not interrupt, simply listening carefully to the melody. When the young man finishes, he looks up. He sees that this man has a slightly weary face etched by the years, but it does not conceal his striking features. His slightly narrowed eyes reveal a hint of ruthlessness, and his upright posture gives off a natural sense of oppression. "Does this gentleman want to hear a song?" the young man asks. The middle-aged man nods. "What song would you like to hear?" "The one you just sang." "All right, but it costs 10 copper coins." The middle-aged man tosses a heavy silver coin. The young man's eyes widen as he catches it, hurriedly expressing his thanks. The little girl's face breaks into a bright smile at the sight of the silver, and she echoes her brother's gratitude. Adjusting his posture, the young man seriously begins to sing a lament for this life, once more. The transmigrator's reality. The young man is named Aaryan. He transmigrated to this world of spiritual cultivation exactly 1 month ago. His character setting was supposed to be the classic underdog protagonist, an orphan youth with zero talent for cultivation, framed, poisoned, and expelled from his powerful family. However, what Aaryan was called back on Earth no longer concerns him. In his past life, he was just a 28-year-old ordinary man who loved music and had survived a failed marriage. After arriving in this world, he discovered he had no divine boons, no cosmic systems, and no ancient masters living in a ring to guide him. He only had an obedient, biological younger sister named Ananya. Since he did not know the classic epics, lacked skills in ancient calligraphy, and had no idea how to invent modern technology like glass or cement, music was his only survival tool. To make a living, Aaryan chose to sing. Unfortunately, the people in this ancient world did not appreciate modern songs at all. He could only earn a meal when he encountered the rare, appreciative listener. Aaryan knew he had to lead the trend. Just like avant-garde music back on Earth, people might not understand it at first, but once it caught on, it would become a sensation. All my life, wandering in the darkness. Even a little tenderness has always been a luxury, Aaryan sang, hitting the final note. When he finished, the ruthlessness in the middle-aged man's eyes had melted into profound distress. "I really like this song," the man said softly. "May I record your singing with a voice crystal?" He handed another silver coin to Aaryan. Aaryan thought to himself that a voice crystal was basically just a magical tape recorder. He quickly took the silver and sang the song one more time. The middle-aged man put away the crystal and brought his hands together in a respectful greeting. "Young brother, destiny will allow us to meet again." Aaryan returned the courtesy. "Destiny will allow us to meet again." The middle-aged man turned to leave, softly humming Aaryan's song as he disappeared into the crowd. "Brother, we earned so much money today." Ananya cheered. Aaryan smiled and stroked his sister's head. "I will treat you to a grand feast today." Ananya happily jumped up. "Yay!" Knowing better than to flaunt wealth in the open, Aaryan quickly packed up. He guided his sister away from the alley, deciding not to return to that spot. He realized that busking in this world depended heavily on choosing the right audience. He had to tailor his songs to a person's expression, temperament, and life experiences. "Brother, what are you whispering about?" Ananya asked curiously. "I am just figuring out when I should take you to be tested for cultivation," Aaryan replied gently. If my little Ananya can walk the path of spiritual ascension, then in the future, you can protect your big brother. Ananya's face grew entirely serious. I will definitely become a cultivator. I will protect you, brother. All right, Aaryan laughed. From now on, my life is in your hands. The two arrived at a small restaurant and ordered Ananya's favorite dishes. Seeing her eat so happily cemented Aaryan's determination. He had to get her into a cultivation sect. The price of freedom. That evening, the middle-aged man who had listened to Aaryan returned to his grand estate. He spent the entire night alone in his room. When he finally walked out at dawn, his face was weary and anxious. All my life, what exactly was it all for? He murmured. With this heavy lament, he walked toward the family's council hall. All along the grand corridors, he felt no warmth, only cold ambition and indifference. He felt entirely lost. If just one person had expressed sincere care for him, perhaps he would not feel this empty. Entering the hall, he was greeted by the bowing elders. Yet, their words felt hollow. As they reported the family's business, he felt overwhelmingly tired. He just wanted to rest. He realized what he truly desired was freedom. After dismissing the elders, his own son came to him, crying and making a fuss over some trivial dispute. Looking at the young man, his thoughts finally aligned. You can cry, the middle-aged man said quietly. You can make a fuss. You can throw a tantrum. But I cannot. I also want to cry loudly. I want to scream at the heavens. But whose shoulder can I cry on? My son, you are grown now. It is time you became the pillar of this family. Without another word, he turned and walked away. He had lived in that estate for hundreds of years, but he departed without the slightest reluctance. When his son chased him to the gates, the man was already far away. His voice echoed back, I am tired. You all manage on your own now. Forsaking his family and his wealth, the man flew to a distant mountain peak. He yelled at the top of his lungs, venting centuries of pent-up grievances and loneliness. After venting, the silence returned. Having been burdened with duty for so long, he suddenly had no idea what to do with his time. Then, a thought crossed his mind. Journeying unfettered with that young street singer did not sound like a bad idea at all. The spiritual test. Aaryan bought enough rations and headed toward another city with Ananya. Along the way, they gnawed on dry bread when hungry, drank from rivers when thirsty, and slept in the branches of large trees when tired. After days of walking, they spotted a village. However, the streets were entirely deserted. Feeling a bit frightened, Aaryan held his sister's hand tightly as they walked toward the village square. There, they found the entire population gathered below a high wooden platform. No spiritual affinity. Next, a pleasant female voice called out. Next, next. Aaryan looked up and saw a breathtaking female cultivator. Her dark hair fluttered in the wind, coiled into an elegant bun. She wore a plain white robe that only accentuated her poise and peerless beauty. Aaryan mumbled to himself that she looked kind enough, hopefully not one of the hypocritical types. When all the village children had been tested and dismissed, the cultivator looked disappointed. She was just about to summon her flying sword when Aaryan called out, Miss Immortal, may my sister be tested as well? The female cultivator looked at Aaryan, then down at Ananya. Her eyes instantly lit up. Women rarely had immunity against adorable things, and Ananya was exceptionally cute. All right, the cultivator smiled. Bring her up. Aaryan nudged Ananya forward. Don't be afraid, the cultivator said gently. Big sister is just going to take a look at your energy. She placed a hand on Ananya's shoulder and infused a stream of spiritual prana into the girl's body. The cultivator's expression shifted from joy to astonishment, then from astonishment to absolute shock, before she forced her face back to normal. A mixed spiritual affinity, she said aloud. Aaryan felt a sting of disappointment, but then she quickly added, Wait, let us test her raw aptitude. She pulled out a smooth, glowing crystal. Ananya placed her small hand upon it. Instantly, the crystal flared white, then rapidly shifted to blue, yellow, green, and deep purple. Suddenly, the cultivator snatched the crystal away and cleared her throat, speaking with forced calmness. Her aptitude is acceptable. She can barely cultivate. Come with me back to the sect. Aaryan joyfully ran up the platform. He knelt in front of Ananya, gripping her shoulders, and began his lecture. Listen to me, Ananya. When you get to the ashram, work hard, but stay in the shadows. Be low-key in your words and deeds. If you see injustice, do not rush to be a hero. If you have 10 parts of skill, show only 7 and keep 3 hidden. Stay away from those who love to show off. He took a deep breath, his voice turning dead serious. Especially beware of those useless people who suddenly become rare geniuses. Avoid them like the plague. The female cultivator raised an eyebrow. And why is that? Because those people are magnets for trouble, Aaryan replied. In the end, they always survive, but absolutely everyone around them ends up dead. The cultivator blinked, secretly taking note of that profound logic. Aaryan continued, if someone pursues you romantically, just say you have taken a vow of silence. When encountering danger, your first reaction should be to run. If you can't run, beg for mercy. If begging doesn't work, join them. If you can't join them, fight like a demon. Always carry hidden poisons. And remember one word. What word? The cultivator asked, completely invested now. Survive. Aaryan looked deep into his sister's eyes. That one word is the core of everything. The path of cultivation is long. You must live prudently. Staying alive is the only hard truth. Understand. Ananya nodded fiercely. I understand, brother. Aaryan's bizarre wisdom left a deep impact on both the little girl and the cultivator. From that day on, the world of spiritual ascension gained 2 more female cultivators who were absolutely terrified of getting involved in other people's drama. The cultivator introduced herself as Nandini from the Neolagiri sword sect. Aaryan handed his last silver coin to Ananya, thanked Nandini, and turned to leave. He didn't look back, even as Ananya called out his name. He knew she was safe now. An unexpected companion. Free of his burdens, Aaryan hummed a tune. He had no desire to become a deity or an immortal. He just wanted to travel the mountains and rivers, trading songs for a good meal. When he reached a scenic riverbank, he decided to set up camp. Rolling up his pants, he waded into the shallows and caught several palm-sized fish. He quickly built a fire, stewing the smaller fish into a broth and grilling the larger ones on a stick. Just as he was about to eat, a voice called out from the shadows. Little brother, may I try some of that? Aaryan spun around. Standing there was the wealthy middle-aged man from the city street. Sir, how did you get all the way out here? Aaryan asked, bewildered. Because of you, the man smiled. Aaryan's mind raced. He wasn't the protagonist of this world, so why was trouble finding him? Did this guy want to hear another song? If so, this was technically his very first groupie. Sir, tell me what you need. I won't decline, Aaryan offered politely. A hint of slyness flashed in the man's eyes. I wish to wander the lands with you. Aaryan nearly tripped into the fire. You are joking, right? What good is it to follow a starving busker? It brings me freedom. Aaryan thought about it. Well, other than the starving part, it is quite free. If you don't mind roughing it, you can tag along. Excellent. From now on, I am just an ordinary man. Aaryan nodded, deciding to play along with this eccentric rich guy's midlife crisis. Since we are traveling together, I can't call you sir. You look like my grandfather's generation, so I'll call you uncle. Good. Call me Uncle Vikram. And you are? Aaryan. Aaryan poured a bowl of fish soup and handed it over, along with the 2 largest grilled fish. Uncle Vikram felt a surge of warmth. In his world of cutthroat cultivators, no one offered him the best share without wanting a favor. He drank the salty, slightly fishy soup in one gulp. Careful, uncle, don't burn yourself, Aaryan warned. It reminds me of my childhood, Vikram murmured, his eyes distant. I used to catch fish and forage for mushrooms. I'd throw it all into one pot. Speaking of mushrooms, you know which ones are poisonous, right? Aaryan asked hopefully. Vikram chuckled. Not at all. I only know 2 kinds that won't kill us. Good enough. Aaryan clapped his hands. That's one more food source for us. The reality check. Traveling with Vikram made the journey far more chaotic. The former clan leader asked questions like an inquisitive child, giving Aaryan a constant headache. Aaryan, what is your ultimate dream? Vikram asked one evening. To marry a nice wife and have some kids in a quiet town. No, I mean your true ambition. Have you never thought about spiritual ascension? Reaching the immortal realms? Never thought about it. Don't want it. Vikram was baffled. Why on earth not? Aaryan turned to him with a deadpan expression. Uncle, look at me. Look at my clothes. With thousands of arrogant, heaven-defying geniuses dying every day out there, what makes you think a guy playing the lute for copper coins is going to ascend? Vikram refused to give up. But what if you succeed by a fluke? Uncle, Aaryan sighed, rubbing his temples. How many people live on this continent? Hundreds of millions. Countless. And how many of them can actually cultivate? Perhaps a few out of every 1,000. And in the past 1,000 years, how many successfully ascended to immortality? Vikram paused. Less than a handful. Sometimes, none in an entire millennium. Aaryan threw his hands up. Exactly. Let's just wash our bowls and go to sleep. There is no point chasing pipe dreams. Vikram stared at the fire, Aaryan's brutal mathematics shattering centuries of his own clan's dogma. Aaryan, you are right. We can't even figure out how to live a normal human lifespan properly. Why worry about living forever? The shameless elders. Meanwhile, at the Neolagiri sword sect, things were spiraling out of control. Nandini had brought Ananya to the Grand Hall to meet the sect master and the elders. When they tested Ananya's aptitude again with the sect's grand crystal, it didn't just glow. It cycled through every color and locked onto a blinding, radiant red. It was a perfect grade affinity, something the sect hadn't seen in centuries. Before the stunned elders could react, the sect master cleared his throat. Since her roots are merely perfect, the sect master said smoothly, I suppose I can reluctantly take her as my personal disciple. Ananya, hurry and bow to your new master. Ananya immediately dropped to her knees. Disciple Ananya pays respects to master. Excellent. Rise, my dear disciple. The head elder snapped out of his daze. Shameless. You reluctantly accept a perfect grade. We do not agree to this. That bow doesn't count. I am the first to object, the second elder yelled, slamming his hand on a table. You cheated us. The sect master shrugged casually. I can't help that I am smarter than all of you. That is why I am the sect master. Are you calling us stupid? Let us not resort to violence. The sect master quickly backpedaled as the elders drew their swords. In the end, they compromised. The sect master took Ananya as his personal disciple on paper, but every single elder demanded the right to teach her. Ananya absorbed spiritual prana on her very first day. Within a month, she was ready to establish her core foundation. The old men doted on her like overbearing grandfathers, burying her in heavenly treasures and arguing daily over whether she should focus on water, metal, or wood techniques. Ananya found the cultivation easy, but dodging her nagging masters was exhausting. She often thought to herself that her big brother was absolutely right. These powerful elders really were quite stupid. The buskers of Shvet-Viagra City. A month later, Aaryan and Vikram finally arrived at Shvet-Viagra City, a massive, imposing fortress town. Aaryan decided he was never traveling long distance again. Uncle, let's find a good spot to busk. Otherwise, we're sleeping outside the gates tonight, Aaryan said. Vikram, now dressed in simple farmer's clothes, nodded dutifully. I follow your lead, boss. They found a busy square and set up their sign. Aaryan had no idea where Vikram had acquired the beautiful wooden veena he was holding, but the older man had insisted on providing background music. Teaching Vikram modern chord progressions had been pure torture, but after 10 days of practice, the old cultivator had finally caught on. All right, uncle, Aaryan whispered as a crowd began to gather. Play the melody I taught you. Look mysterious and slightly mournful. Do not worry, Vikram smiled confidently. I will let my desolate aura captivate their souls. Aaryan rolled his eyes. For an old man who claimed to want a simple life, he was incredibly dramatic. As Vikram's fingers plucked the strings of the veena, a haunting, beautiful melody washed over the bustling city square. The crowd quieted down, and Aaryan closed his eyes, drawing a deep breath to sing.